This cartridge ignited World War I, but some folks simply laughed that off over the decades, calling it too small, too weak, and too outdated to matter anymore. But is it really? In this video, we'll talk about how times have changed and why this so-called mouse gun is suddenly back in the limelight, winning over new and seasoned shooters alike. I've been carrying concealed for a while and have seen the attitude toward the 380 shift dramatically. It went from being the last resort backup round that nobody wanted to one of the first calibers people recommend when you need a pistol that's truly compact, easy to manage, and surprisingly capable. Plenty of factors drove that change, but modern ammo design, bigger magazine capacities, and more comfortable pistol frames top the list of reasons why we're witnessing what I can only describe as a pocket pistol revolution. Before digging into the newest guns and ammunition, it might help to look at how the 380 ACP developed such a shaky reputation. This cartridge was created by John Moses Browning in 1908 for the Colt Model 1903 pocket hammerless. It was originally popular in Europe, where police agencies and military units used it under names like 9mm Kurtz, 9mm Cordo, or 9mm Browning Short. At the time, it offered a good balance of size and recoil control compared to other options around the early 1900s. One reason it worked so well was the blowback design of many 380 pistols, which allowed simpler manufacturing without a barrel lock. That approach meant the barrel stayed in place for better accuracy. However, blowback guns can get heavy because the slide has to be substantial enough to absorb recoil energy. Plenty of older European sidearms ended up weighing more than you'd expect for a small caliber pistol. Eventually, NATO standardized on the 9x19 round, so the 380 ACP lost some steam for frontline use. Even so, it lingered in the civilian market, partly because it was easy to conceal. Everything changed after bigger agencies decided that smaller calibers just weren't stopping attackers fast enough. Certain real-world encounters revealed that a single heart shot might kill someone in a minute or two, but it wouldn't drop them instantly. Critics saw the 380 as a neither here nor there cartridge that lacked the velocity and mass to do real damage, unless you nailed a direct central nervous system hit. That kind of scenario caused more than one law enforcement unit to swap out 32 or 380 pistols for something stronger, like 9mm. Police news outlets paint a picture of officers wrestling suspects long after a 380 round had done its job physiologically, but hadn't forced compliance quickly enough. Many saw this round as an absolute last resort. A backup gun, a purse gun, or a mouse gun, something you slipped into an ankle holster. It was good for discreet carry, but you sacrificed power, capacity, and in many cases, reliable feeding if you tried to run hollow points. Early micro pistols had stiff recoil springs, small slides that were hard to rack, and triggers that felt like you were pulling a stapler through mud. That didn't help the 380's image. It settled into a niche for people who valued pocket concealment over everything else. Fast forward to now, and you'll see that these so-called weaknesses have been addressed by both firearm manufacturers and ammunition designers. The fluted bullet revolution, combined with new materials and pressure ratings, changed the ballgame for 380 ACP. Brands like Underwood, Norma, G9, and others have come up with loads that push velocity high enough to meet or exceed FBI gel penetration standards, all while improving feeding reliability. Think about something like Underwood's Extreme Defender Plus P, which sells for about $24.23 for a box of 20. That ammo uses a 68-grain solid copper bullet with radial flutes and can achieve speeds of around 1,400 feet per second in optimal conditions, which is huge for a 380. The resulting 296 foot-pounds of energy is no small thing, especially in a tiny frame. Even from short barrels, it manages 1,250 to 1,300 feet per second, and it keeps about 15 inches of penetration in gel. That performance solves the old expansion and penetration complaints that plagued the 380 ACP for decades. The Norma NXD is another example, typically priced at about $17.89 for a 20-round box, though sometimes sales drop that to $10. Instead of relying on a hollow cavity to expand, it uses flutes to fling soft tissue outward. It's loaded hot enough for roughly 1,283 feet per second from a short barrel, while remaining easy to shoot for those who hate recoil. People who worry about feed ramp geometry can relax because the bullet's shape is close to FMJ, meaning it's less likely to jam in small pistols. Ammo brands like Underwood's Extreme Penetrator, which retails around $37.99 for 20, and Inceptor ARX, at about $20.49 for a 25-round box, have also given this cartridge new life. The Extreme Penetrator flutes can break through barriers without fragmenting, while Inceptor's polymer copper blend uses fluid dynamics to enlarge the wound channel. G9's external hollow point, which costs $37 to $43 for 20, has flutes on the exterior to transfer energy the moment it hits soft tissue. Novi X Engagement Extreme, around $24.99 for standard pressure or $26.99 for plus P, runs a hybrid steel-aluminum case for lighter weight and higher velocities that can reach 1,400 feet per second in plus P form. Each of these products addresses the traditional shortfalls of 380, lack of penetration, inconsistent expansion, and feeding issues. They offer shapes that feed reliably, velocities that produce decent energy, and designs that don't clog in heavy clothing. There's a good chance that, in a decade, no one will call the 380 an underpowered joke anymore. Aside from the ammo improvements, the pistols themselves got some serious makeover. In 2021, Ruger released their LCP Max, a pocket 380 auto pistol that still packs 10 or 12 rounds and is only priced around $450. The first LCP was known for a less-than-ideal trigger pull and minimal sights, but the LCP Max tosses those concerns out the window. The new model has a smoother, shorter trigger that breaks somewhere between 5 and 6 pounds, and it features a bright tritium front sight with a U-notch rear. Because it weighs around 10.6 ounces, you can toss it in a pocket holster and forget it's there until you need it. 2 years later, Beretta threw its hat back in the ring with the 80X Cheetah in 380. Priced around $799 at many retailers, it's a spin-off of the classic Beretta 84 design, but they've updated it with an accessory rail, an optional optics mounting plate, and a slimmer grip that works for smaller hands. The capacity sits around 13+1, which is generous for a 380. Then, toward the end of 2024, Smith & Wesson dropped the Bodyguard 2.0, a much-needed remake of their original 380 Bodyguard that first came out way back in 2010. It sells for around $400 in many shops and fixed nearly every complaint about the original model. It's got a grip that feels more like the M&P line, a crisp, flat trigger that breaks at 4 pounds, and a capacity of 10 or 12 rounds, depending on the mag you choose. The best part is that it's barely over half an inch wide and weighs about 14.7 ounces loaded, which is perfect if you need something that slips into a jacket pocket or an appendix holster without printing. People who carry it say the recoil is now easier to manage, the sights are far better, and the feeding issues from older versions of the Bodyguard are pretty much gone. All of those pistols show how the 380 platform evolved. You're no longer stuck choosing between 6 rounds and a brutal trigger pull. The new wave offers capacities up to 12 or 13, better ergonomics, and improved reliability. If you combine that with ammunition that can zip at 1,200 to 1,400 feet per second and maintain 12 to 15 inches of penetration, you end up with a serious self-defense tool that's easy to conceal and shoot. Who exactly should consider carrying a 380 in 2025? Anyone who needs maximum concealment, either because they wear lighter clothing or they can't lug around a heavier pistol all day. Seniors, people with grip strength issues, or anyone who has to manage arthritis in their wrists will appreciate the easier slide manipulation and reduced recoil. Those who prioritize comfort over raw stopping power might find it's the sweet spot. The same goes for daily carriers who want to ensure they never leave their gun at home just because it's awkward to conceal. The 380 also works well as a backup gun for folks in law enforcement or for those who want a second pistol as insurance. Shot placement has always mattered more than raw caliber, especially if you factor in real-life defensive distances of about 7 yards or less. With the new fluted bullets that create significant wound channels without depending on expansion, this round is no longer the butt of every caliber joke. For me, the biggest selling point is the reduced recoil that lets me put in more time at the range without feeling beat up, and that leads to better marksmanship. I'm not saying it's a do-it-all solution, but the argument that 380 can't do anything but annoy an attacker just doesn't hold water anymore. When you can get 10, 12, or even 13 rounds of advanced 380 in a gun that slips into your pocket, that's a compelling reason to give it another look. Gone are the days of slide bite, questionable feeding, and puny magazine capacities that left you feeling undergunned. It isn't a magic bullet. A 380 auto projectile still carries less kinetic energy than a 9mm, And there's a reason many carriers swear by bigger calibers. No one's denying the extra oomph that you get from a 9mm or a 45 ACP. Sometimes you might see agencies or experts advise folks to move up in caliber if they can handle it. That said, if you never practice because of recoil or convenience issues, then carrying a higher caliber does you no good. A 380 that you train with regularly beats a compact 9mm that stays at home or barely sees the light of day. At this point, the question is whether 380 ACP is truly the perfect blend of portability and power, or if it's still too small to rely on. That call depends on your circumstances, your hand strength, and your tolerance for recoil. Based on what I've witnessed, more people are switching to 380 carry guns because these pistols finally offer enough rounds and enough ballistic punch to calm their old concerns. Some folks will always say bigger is better, but plenty of shooters are satisfied with modern 380 ballistics. The presence of fluted projectiles that slice through barriers and generate significant wound channels suggests we're well past those days when 380 was seen as a feeble backup. I don't think the 380 ACP is going to replace every other caliber out there, but it's definitely earned a fresh look in the concealed carry community. It's a perfect match for certain lifestyles, especially if your daily routine involves minimal clothing or you need deep concealment. If you can't keep a bulky double-stack 9mm hidden or you can't handle the snap of a Micro 9, you might find that a 380 with modern ammo is the sweet spot. The historical baggage of being a mouse gun might have been deserved decades ago, but that's just not the reality anymore. Would you trust your life to a 380? Did we mention a pistol or a specific load that catches your eye, or do you have your own recommendation? Let the rest of us know in the comments, because this conversation keeps evolving as new guns and ammo land on shelves every year. If this video gave you a fresh perspective on the 380 ACP, give it a like, share it with a friend who can't decide which pocket pistol to buy, and subscribe with the bell icon so you won't miss what's next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.